I was 67 years old when I found out my wife had been lying to me for more than 2 decades. My name is Robert, and I spent most of my life believing in the vows we made. We met young, in our early 20s, full of hope and dreams about building a life together. Our marriage lasted 30 years, filled with ups and downs, but mostly, I thought, love. Carol was my world. She was beautiful, kind, and a devoted mother to our 2 children. We raised them in a small town, working hard to give them a good life. I fixed cars by day and came home to her warmth at night. We shared dinners, holidays and memories that I believed would last forever. But life, as it often does, had different plans. I noticed little changes at first. She started going out with friends more often. Late nights at book club meetings, charity events, and church gatherings. I trusted her, so I never questioned it. One day, after our 30th anniversary, a stranger sent me an anonymous letter. It read simply, "Your wife isn't who you think she is." At first I laughed it off. Jealousy, a prank, but the seed of doubt was planted. That night, curiosity and dread pushed me to look through her phone. It wasn't locked. She never hid anything from me. What I found changed everything. Texts between Carol and a man named Michael spanned over 10 years. The messages were intimate, secret, filled with confessions I never heard from her. Weekend getaways, promises of love, whispered secrets. The man was someone from her past, someone she reconnected with and never let go of. I confronted her the next morning. She didn't deny it. Tears streamed down her face as she admitted that, while she loved me, she had found something in Michael she felt was missing at home. I was broken. The man I trusted most had been living a double life, and I had been blind. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The house felt empty even though Carol was still there. Our conversations were awkward, filled with silence and half-truths. My sons sensed something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them the full story. Carol wanted to fix things. She begged for forgiveness, promised she'd end the affair. But the damage was done. The trust we had built over decades shattered in an instant. I decided to stay. For the kids, for the memories, for the life we had. But every glance, every smile from Carol felt like a reminder of the betrayal. Eventually, she moved out. We agreed to divorce quietly, no shouting matches, no accusations, just 2 people who once loved each other, now strangers. I spent nights alone, wrestling with anger, sadness and disbelief. How could someone you love so deeply hurt you so completely? But in that pain, I found something unexpected. Strength. I started journaling. Putting my feelings on paper helped me make sense of the chaos inside. I reconnected with old friends, took up hobbies I'd long forgotten. Slowly, I began to heal. One day, while walking in the park, I realized that the end of my marriage wasn't the end of my life. It was a painful new beginning. Months passed and I learned to live differently. The empty house no longer felt like a prison. I filled it with music, books and laughter with friends. I even started volunteering at the local community centre, helping others who faced loneliness and hardship. My sons stood by me, their support a beacon in the dark. We shared stories, memories, and slowly rebuilt our relationship, stronger than before. Carol moved on too. She remarried, and while it hurt at first, I realized that holding on to anger only chained me to the past. The betrayal taught me harsh lessons about trust and love. It reminded me that people are complex, and sometimes even the deepest bonds can fray. But it also showed me the power of resilience. I am not defined by what happened to me, but by how I chose to respond. And though my heart still carries scars, it also holds hope. Hope that, even after pain, life can surprise us with new joys. I remember one cold autumn evening. sitting alone by the fireplace, thinking about the life I once had and the one I was slowly building anew. The house was quiet, but my mind was loud with memories. I thought about the vows Carol and I made, the promises of in sickness and in health, and how those promises were tested beyond anything I could imagine. Yet, I also thought about forgiveness, not just for her, but for myself. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what happened. It means freeing yourself from the burden of bitterness. That night, I made a decision. I would not let betrayal define the rest of my life. I enrolled in the creative writing class at the community college. Writing stories, putting my experiences into words, gave me a new purpose. I shared my journey with others who had faced their own heartbreaks, and together we found strength. My life after betrayal was not perfect, but it was real, and in that reality I found peace. As time went on, I realized that my story wasn't unique. Many men and women experience heartbreak and betrayal, yet so few speak openly about it, especially at our age. I began attending a support group for seniors going through divorce and loss. Sharing my story, listening to others, I found a community that understood the pain and the hope. One afternoon, a woman named Margaret shared her own story, a tale of lost love and rediscovered happiness. Her courage inspired me to open up more, to embrace vulnerability instead of hiding it. We became friends, and through our conversations I learned that healing is possible, even after the deepest wounds. Life, I found, is about adaptation and growth. No matter how harsh the storm, the sun eventually shines again. With Margaret's friendship, I rediscovered joy in simple things. Long walks, shared meals, laughter that came easy. She reminded me that companionship doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be genuine. One evening, as we watched the sunset over the lake, I felt a warmth I hadn't known in years. It wasn't the fiery passion of youth, but a quiet comfort, a deep understanding. I realized that life after betrayal can still hold happiness, just in different forms. I didn't rush into anything. Age had taught me patience, but I opened my heart to new possibilities. For the first time in decades, I felt hopeful about the future. Despite the pain and betrayal, I learned that forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It doesn't erase the past, but it lightens the burden. I reached out to Carol one last time, not to rekindle anything, but to find closure. We spoke honestly, without anger or blame. It was bittersweet but necessary. I realized that some stories don't have fairy tale endings, and that's okay. What matters is how we move forward, how we rebuild ourselves after the cracks. Today, I'm proud of the man I've become, stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. I share my story not to dwell on the past, but to offer hope to anyone facing heartbreak at any age, because life is unpredictable and healing is always possible. In the years since the betrayal, I have come to understand that love is not always about perfection. It is about acceptance, growth, and sometimes letting go. I found new purpose in helping others through their struggles, volunteering at local community centres, sharing my experiences openly. My sons have grown into fine men, and our bond has only strengthened through adversity. While the scars of the past remain, they no longer define me. I look forward to each new day with gratitude and hope. If there's one thing I want others to know, it's this. No matter your age, your story isn't over. There is always a chance for renewal, for healing, and for unexpected joy. Life goes on, and so do we.